It's time for another edition of the Patriots Draft Countdown presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. It's Matt Smith with Mike Dussault as the combine rolls on here from Indianapolis. Mike, I know fans look at the position of wide receiver. They want a wide receiver under their tree for Christmas or draft, whatever your holiday that just celebrate. You mentioned the other day that you don't think it's likely that number one receiver is coming from free agency. So with that being said, and wide receivers being part of the discussion today, give me a guy that you think would be realistic maybe for Patriots fans to think about.
Sure. I mean, I'd start with some of the ones that you see. Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M is a really exciting, dynamic player, and it'd be easy to imagine him slide into this offense and giving Drake May that quick open option. Somebody who can shake loose and then make plays with the ball in their hands. The guy that I'm kind of intrigued by, though, and this isn't usually my type, Matt, is Denzel Boston from Washington. He's a big guy. Sometimes we're afraid of those guys. We're afraid of, contested catch. He can't run. He can't get away from people. But I think he's got a special skill set. And when you look at what Drake May tends to gravitate towards, those big targets, loves throwing to Matt Collins. This is a guy who maybe on the outside could give him that option, a big guy on the outside that Drake, we know his downfield accuracy is amazing. Push the ball down to someone like that. And then the last two guys I'll just mention are the two Indiana guys. Everybody saw plenty of them in the playoffs.
Sure.
And Omar Cooper Jr. of the two is really, got some buzz here going on in the combine. That's what we heard the last few days. It seems like he's another guy that's going up draft boards and is probably going to be in that late first round, might sneak into the first round kind of territory. So whether it's edge or wide receiver, I think those are the two most intriguing positions here after this week in the draft. And maybe right tackle, like a right tackle of the future. When we're talking about the end of that first round, I think those are the positions that are going to be most likely in the target range of what the Patriots are looking for.
So that's Deuce's view for some potential draft pick people for the Patriots. Let's hear from another draft guru. That's Matt Miller from ESPN.
All right, we're excited now to be joined by Matt Miller from ESPN. Matt, thanks for sitting down with us again this year. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the hard work you put in trying to guide us. We're used to being in the top of the draft, and now all of a sudden,
it's a little different scenario this year than when we sat down last year.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's going to be these three guys. Which one of it's going to be? But I'm just curious, your perspective, 31st overall. A lot of talk about the edge class, the edge need for the Patriots.
Yeah.
How do you see it lining up there?
I think it marries really well, honestly. The edge classes, we'll see 6 players, maybe 7 go in the first round. This might be kind of the floor for that, right? If where that edge talent drops off. So many people are going to talk about the guys at the top, Ruben Bain, David Bailey, Arvell Reese. We know they're going to go probably in the top 10. But there's really good depth. You get to T.J. Parker from Clemson, Zion Young from Missouri, R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. There are really good players that are going to be in that back end that still fit what Vrabel's looking for at edge rusher.
You say what Vrabel's looking for. After watching this team this year, I'm like, I know what Vrabel's looking for.
Yeah.
He wants guys that play with their hair on fire.
Yep.
Mesidor, you mentioned R. Mason Thomas, another guy that seemed to play with that style. But if it wasn't edge there, because sometimes I feel like you're at the end of the first round, you're kind of waiting to see where does the value get pushed down? And maybe it's not a need that everybody's talking about, but, maybe the tight end, from Oregon, Sadiq Falls, like somebody like that. Is there, a position group maybe you could see getting pushed down where there might be some value that people aren't talking about?
Yeah, now? Definitely. I think wide receiver is one where, again, 6 players might go in the first round. If one of those slips through the cracks, it feels like that happens every year where we see a player's like, oh, there's this guy go top 20. And then they end up being there. That every year for the Chiefs, it feels like that would be the player we would mock to them. So I think this could be the year for wide receivers where someone like Denzel Boston from Washington, Omar Cooper from Indiana, one of those guys maybe slips through the cracks and they're 31. And I think the lesson from the Patriots dynasty and then the Chiefs dynasty is that to sustain those, you should just draft the best player available. Don't reach for need, because if you go into the first round and say we have to get an edge, then you miss. You've hurt yourself so badly, whereas if you're drafting best player available in every round and you miss, it's okay, because in the second round, maybe that guy is a starter. Maybe in the third round, that guy is. So I think the lesson and listen, Elliott Wolf and Mike Vrabel know this very, very well. Best player available is the way to go.
That's what, when we saw the decline in, after 18, 19, even in 18, it felt like they won the Super Bowl, but the talent was declining. Missed drafts, missed high-round picks, and now you start to stack some of those. Vrabel, heard from him earlier up on the podium. He mentioned the tight end class, that he kind of liked it. I mentioned Sadiq. I know he's kind of the top guy, but, it seems like there are some other options there, maybe for day 2, day 3. Anybody that stands out to you that you like that maybe Patriots fans should keep an eye on?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about this tight end class, and it's deep, especially on day 3, is that there are a lot of different types of tight ends. If you want to go with more of that athletic move tight end, Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt is going to give you that. If you want more of your classic inline when you think about Mike Vrabel, what type of tight end? Like Max Clare from Ohio State.
Sure.
It's going to be that Joe Royer from Cincinnati, Jack Indres from Texas. Those guys are probably going to be 4th-round picks, but they have that inline ability. They have the toughness to be an impact in the run game, and then they're going to give you a little bit of something as a pass catcher as well.
So, Matt, just a big overall question. Who are your favorite guys this year? Just, no needs, no teams, just guys. When you watch, you're like, hey, this is fun. This is why I do what I do.
Well, Jeremiah Love is an easy answer, the running back from Notre Dame. But I think getting outside of, an obvious player, D'Angelo Ponce from Indiana, Keontae Scott from Miami, 2 nickel corners, like pound for pound toughest guys in the draft class, even though they're like 5'10", 185 pounds. We saw them throughout the college football playoff. Their impact is blitzers off the edge. Their impact in coverage. Those are the guys that make it fun. Where you're looking at a player that's, maybe wasn't a 5-star recruit, maybe didn't go, to Georgia, Ohio State, Texas. Guys that, and like with Ponce, he was at Indiana before Indiana was cool. So to watch him stay with the Hoosiers and kind of define that team with his toughness and how, underrated he's been, those are the players that make my job fun.
Yeah, sorry, I was just having flashbacks to Devin Witherspoon in the Super Bowl coming off the edge there for a second.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Go get your own version of that, right?
I like it. Well, Matt, thank you so much again, and we'll see you next year.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Yeah, Matt Miller, everybody.
So here we are at the end of February. March is around the corner. The draft is in April. And would you say that we're in full mock draft season?
I hope so, Matt. I felt
anybody
like it came
who's
quick.
anybody's got a mock draft, which means I'm not anybody because I don't have one.
You haven't done one?
No, sir.
Well, this is when it's fun to do it. When you're picking 4th overall, it's kind of an exercise in futility because you're like, I'm going to take this guy again. And then, you're probably going to get Will Campbell. When you're at 31, though, it's fun to game it out and see, sometimes who slips through those cracks. And I think most of the mock drafts that you're seeing early in the season, usually you're going to overreact to the Super Bowl, right? And so you're going to look at, the edge depth is Chaseon's a free agent. Landry was banged up. That's a spot they clearly need to improve. A lot of people lamenting the offensive line, and, that also makes sense. But you start to see trends, and I think that's what we're seeing with some of these defensive ends, even some of the wide receivers that we mentioned earlier. But, we had a chance to talk to Cynthia Freeland, and I was really intrigued by her pick because I thought she went off the beaten path a little bit.
So here's Mike Dussault's conversation with Cynthia Freeland.
All right, we're excited now to be joined by Cynthia Freeland from NFL.com, NFL Network. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
I got to start off with your mock draft because so many Patriots fans right now, they're like edge class, and, they got a couple tackle people. But you came through with Caleb Banks, a giant, penetrating defensive lineman, which – I'm kind of a defense guy. I love the defense, and I saw that, and I was like, hey, I know we have some needs, but sign me up for that. What did you see in him that made you go into the Patriots?
When I watched his film and when I tracked all of the data that kind of matches strategies, he's a Vrabel. He it's like he's a Vrabel.
That's right.
That's a Vrabel.
It's kind of easy to see, right?
Yeah. And the numbers are pretty. The good news about Mike Vrabel is that you know exactly what the strategy is going to be, and that means the fit is easier to find, right? That's great. Its clarity is great, and sticking to a plan is even greater. Which I think some people have clarity, and then they're like, no, I'm going to make this thing fit I'm going to back into my narrative here.
That's when it doesn't work.
That's not what Vrabel does. That's not what Vrabel does. He does the opposite of that. So it just felt like that was the one you're like, my job here is done.
It makes sense. I said, we're talking to a bunch of people this week, and it was, Vrabel came in and he's like, this is the style we want to play with effort and finish. And as soon as we saw them starting to play, especially on the defensive side of the ball, you're like, okay, I get it. And now we're starting the scouting process, and I'm like, Vrabel. These are Vrabel guys.
That's a Vrabel.
Plays with his hair on fire. But I want to ask you a little different for the Patriots.
Yeah.
We've been up at the top of the draft the last few years. Who saw last year coming? Not even us here on the inside. But
I'm obsessed with I went to BC, and your accent is. I'm obsessed.
A little bit.
I'm keep talking.
When I have a couple of drinks, then it comes out even more. We're not there.
We're not there yet. Drink. Okay.
But I feel like when you're at the bottom of the first round, you're waiting to see who might fall through the cracks. And I do love this edge class, so I feel like we got to talk a little bit about it. Any of those guys you see that you think Vrabel guy?
So. He won't be available where you're picking, but I think Cassius Howell is a Vrabel guy. The one cool thing, or there's a lot of cool things about him, but one of the coolest things about him is the fatigue factor. So I've been using the data to see how often in the fourth quarter the guys get tired versus the first quarter. So I need to rename it because it's a good thing to be low in fatigue, but that's clunky to say. So how good are you at not being fatigued? terrible English, whatever.
Exhaustion quotient or something like that. There we go. It sounds official, right?
Well, especially quotient. I mean,
did that fit? I don't have a degree in stats.
But the point is Cassius Howell doesn't get tired.
Yeah.
He does not have that habit. I mean, Caleb Downs, nowhere near where.
Nowhere near.
Y'all will have no chance at him. No offense, but it's not like a offensive thing. But that kid, no drop off.
No way.
Yeah. So, but Cassius Howell, if he had some weird fall, or whatever, that's a guy who would be a Vrabel guy.
I feel like R. Mason Thomas too a little bit plays with that kind of style, a little smaller kind of a guy. But when you look overall at the draft, regardless of Patriots or anything, are there any guys that just you're like, I love this guy? I think these,
Caleb Downs. Yeah.
Easy to love him.
Yeah, so I'm all in on Caleb Downs. Now, I studied, this is ridiculous, but I spent a lot of my master's degree studying offensive linemen because somebody once told me there was nothing that I could teach them about, whatever. It was stupid.
Are we going to arm length right now?
No, we're not going to arm length, but no, I feel like I'm very excited about seeing how Francis Mauanoa interviews. I don't know anything about his personality, but Miami tackle, he should measure in around 6'6", 6'7". Pretty interested to see, because I just think a lot of teams need a tackle. You've heard about. And by the way, I don't care about Will Campbell's arm size.
Neither do we.
I'd rather want him to be playing with like all of his ligaments intact.
Nice.
But I don't care about his arms. He was my first pick. I'm an analytics person. I can tell you. I don't care about his arms.
I mean, talk about a Vrabel guy. You heard last year, the second I heard him speak, I'm like,
I want to die for. It's not that serious.
It's too extreme.
Right, you ratchet it down just a tiny bit, but I get where you're going with that, but just a little less.
I can ask you, just going back to this year. I mean, you have a national perspective, and you're talking about this stuff all the time. Just what was your perspective on this Patriots team this year? I know there was talk of the schedule, but I mean, Drake May, runner-up in the MVP. I mean, like I said, not even the people inside. I mean, we were all just taken aback by how well he played and how it all came together so quickly.
I think the quick is the part. It made complete sense. Milton Williams, that was such a smart thing. But I loved Bobby Spillane. Adding Robert Spillane back to the team, I thought that was low-key, not talked about anywhere near as much as it should have been. The run stop, that's a dude right there. But he's also, if you look at anything good that happened on the Raiders, it was it's Robert Spillane, it's Bobby Spillane, right? So you're looking at that, and I thought even the less premium free agent, and I don't mean to call him that, but less expensive. How about that? The less expensive free agent acquisitions were really good too. Did I think that this would be the year that they would go to the Super Bowl? Nope. But I wasn't really surprised. I do think it kind of, the wheels fell off a little bit with injuries and trying to put some duct tape on.
Spillane being one of those down the end.
You need a little WD-40 kid? Okay, good. But I think but that could happen to any team. So, it was just an unfortunate circumstance, but I thought it was going to be a good team. I definitely didn't think it was a Super Bowl team though, yet.
Yeah, well,
I thought it was a good rebuild.
And then we look at the schedule next year. It's at Seattle, at Kansas City, at the Chargers. There's a lot of tough games. What do you feel like the strategy should be for this Patriots team this year? There's cries for the number one. Everybody got to get that number one receiver. You got to get one of the three best receivers, and that's a big talking point. The pressure with the edge rushers, but they've established a core, a foundation. They've got to continue to build on it. What are your thoughts on how do they approach the expectations now after going to a Super Bowl?
Can we just do a little more of a right tackle? Oh, I'm so mean. I'm so mean. I just want to protect Drake May. I think he's so special and has the potential to be elite. I will never crown a guy until I've seen it. Even Patrick Mahomes, after that one amazing year, I wasn't I'm not ready to crown. You got to give him 3. Because then now everyone will adjust, and then can you adjust back? It seems like Drake May will be fully capable of doing that. But again, I just don't want to go. I reserve the word elite for the actual elite people. So by definition, it has to be very few. But he has all signs point to that. So pull out like a little armored vehicle. Who's the most refrigerator-like in this draft? Francis Mauanoa.
Yeah, right.
Let's put him. Anyways, but long story short is that to me is focus on that. This team has a lot of different opportunities to be successful. I don't care how it looks. I don't care if it's a number one wide receiver that's named hottest wide receiver in the whole world. It doesn't need to be that. AJ Brown, a fan, okay, great. That'd be awesome. But what are you giving up to get him? Because if it's a right tackle, I'm going with that. And I'm not trying to be mean to your right tackle. I just think that, like I said, I want.
Well, it's more. I mean, he's 34 years old, Morgan Moses. I mean, and usually the end of the first round, that's where you might get a right tackle. The future
I'm just saying,
kind of player.
I'm not throwing shade. I want to give Drake May every single asset to succeed because it was so great. And I'm like a huge Hunter Henry fan.
Yeah.
Giant Hunter Henry fan. Did a service trip last year with him and his wife, and so the Herslicks, who were good BC kids, and we went to Africa, and it was about anti-human trafficking. So I would really like Hunter Henry to have like conservatively, how about 20 touchdowns? Are we good with that?
I think we could do that. I think we could manage that.
Great.
Last one, Max Crosby. Yeah, I think that's a fit. Could that move happen?
I think Max Crosby is a fit with like any team. I don't think it will happen because I think he's not going to leave the Raiders, but I don't know. I mean, they said they're going to play a 34 now. They could pretend that teams actually play base defense. He could be like, I want to play in a 43. I don't think that's actually I just don't think they'll let him out the door. Awesome. Mark Davis is like obsessed with him. So Mark Davis would be like, absolutely not. You are here. It would be a fit on any team. Like, there's no team that would be like, we don't need your services.
Right. Best pass rusher. I'm like, no, we're good. We're all set.
We're good. He's really good at run stopping too. Like
Cynthia.
at 7 seasons that he's been in the league, he has the most run stops at the position. So
a lot of Patriots fans clamoring for him. We'll see what happens. But Cynthia, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Everyone's clamoring for him. Thank you so much for having me.
It's Max Crosby. Cynthia Freeland, everybody.
All right, Mike. That'll do it from the Combine. Another one in the books. What'd you think?
Crazy.
What were your impressions?
Oh, it's always a blast. I mean, it's a little different, though. I mean, this is kind of what more I was used to early on in my career, picking late and not really knowing. Last few years we've been here, you kind of know who the guys are going to be. There's maybe 5 or 6 guys in that first pick. But it's always great energy here. It feels like a land stuck in time. You're always here the same week with the same people at the same restaurants and the same hotels. So it's always a blast. And we talked to Vrabel earlier in the week. Good way to turn the page. I mean, it's not even 3 weeks yet since they lost that Super Bowl game. Disappointing. But this is a good way to turn the page, and we're on to the offseason.
We're on to 2026 for sure. That'll wrap things up with the Patriots Draft Countdown presented by Bud Light. Patriots.com is the place to get all of your draft information, as we'll be cranking out the content right up and through the draft.